Well, get your ears around this, folks, because a new podcast starts today which delves into the case of Jason Roberts. A convicted killer never gave up hope. Joining us now is my old mate, one of the best reporters in the country, Anthony Dowsley from the Herald Sun. That is the front page of the Herald Sun right there in case you missed it, folks. We'll bring it up again, but The Devil's Apprentice is what the podcast is called. Anthony, good morning to you. Good to see you, so tell us about it.
Good to see you, Peter. This is an intriguing case of how a young man becomes embroiled in a double murder and how justice was denied him in his first trial. And he walks out of prison 22 years later, and now for the first time he speaks about what went on. He's never spoken before to the media, and this is the story about 24 years of pain from the beginning when two brave officers, police officers, were basically trying to hunt two armed robbers, and they die in the line of duty. And from there is an investigation that twists and turns, and this went on for 24 years.
So much of it was based on improper police practice, wasn't it, Anthony?
Well, this becomes a factor in a few years ago. I was sitting in a pub. I was going to meet a contact. I'd been investigating this case with a colleague of mine, and there had been a police operation post the conviction 10 years, more than 10 years later, into doubts about this case. And a few years after that, I'm sitting in a pub to meet someone, and I'm passed some documents, and those documents went to a falsified statement that basically placed multiple offenders at the crime scene. This would become a huge turning point in this case, and it would lead to the retrial of Jason Roberts last year.
What did he tell you, Anthony? What struck you about the things that he said?
Well, it's not only the things that he says. Obviously, he says that he's not guilty of these crimes, that he is innocent. But it is one of the things that I found over many days of talking to him since his release from prison. He answers questions very quickly. He doesn't halter. He doesn't stop. He doesn't stall. And it's an interesting fact. But you'll have to listen to the podcast to see what you think of his version of events. And that's what he's giving. He's giving a version of events. And we go through many different scenarios of what happened on Cochrane's Road where the murders took place, because many have been fleshed out, and we give them all in this podcast.
Is he bitter at all after all that time spent behind bars?
I was surprised that he was relatively natural, but as you can imagine, spending half of his 22 years in prison in isolation, there is a problem readjusting to life, especially big public spaces and things like that. So you don't realise, as someone that's never been in prison or really knows what it's like, or to be isolated for any period of time other than COVID, you don't know what goes through your mind. You don't know the impact it would have on you.
All right, well, that's a good get.
But we go into that.
Sure. Okay, that's Anthony Dowsley, I should say, from the Herald Sun. I gave you a promotion there, Anthony. Good to see you. Great work as always.
Pay grade increase as well.
We'll tell the bosses. Anthony Dowsley live to us there from Melbourne. That new podcast, it starts today, folks. Again, it's called The Devil's Apprentice. Be a good one.